Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds, and it's time for another Top 10!
In this video, we got our Top 10 Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate Commander cards.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. We have videos for you actually every single day of every single week, forever. So if you want to support the channel, best way to do it is to be a patron, much like the patron of the day, Chewy.
Yeah, Chewy gets this video. I hope you like Baldur's Gate because this is your video, Chewy. Also, other ways to support us that aren't directly through Patreon, which would be just giving us money to make this channel bigger, better, faster, and stronger, would be tcgplayer.com. Go there, buy the cards you were going to buy anyway, and you spend the same amount of money, but as long as you start with our link in the description of every single one of our videos, you will be supporting this channel.
And the same is true for Dragon Shield. They got the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
Head on over to one of those links, whichever EU or US link you prefer, and buy this product straight from the source. It's just the best product ever. There's no question that they dominate the sleeves game. Dragon Shield sleeves are the best sleeves, period, so you can support the channel by buying sleeves from them with our link. We also are sponsored by Maxfield. Will you be able to predict where the ad is? No. Throw your time codes in the comments, but you're just going to be wrong.
Yeah, you're going to be wrong. It's not possible. And happy birthday to every single human whose birthday is indeed today.
And the pets of those humans whose birthdays it also is.
Yes, so happy birthday to your pets. All right, let's get into this. Commander Legends Baldur Gate. Now, we're talking about both the Commander deck cards, all the new cards there, and we're talking about the set. But we're not talking about reprints. So something like Bramble Sovereign, which is obviously an awesome Magic card you're not going to see on this list. This is all brand new cards introduced in Baldur's Gate or Baldur's Gate Commander. I think all of it's just called Baldur's Gate, weirdly enough.
Altogether?
It is all Baldur's Gate. Like they are Commander decks, but they're still, like they have the same set symbol as Baldur's Gate.
Which is unfortunate. But the overall thing, this is like the must-have cards. Keep your eye out for these. What's actually worth picking up for Commander is probably these 10.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get right into it. Number 10 is, of course, Spectacular Showdown.
Of course.
1 in the red for a sorcery. Put a double strike counter on target creature, then goad each creature that had a double strike counter put on it this way. Overload for 4 red. So 7 mana. That means you get to goad all creatures, including your own, but everything's getting double strike. This is going to be hectic. The only reason this card is so far down this list is as you get in the higher powers of Commander, you're just going to notice Goad isn't that powerful. But I think from anything from 8 and lower, this is an absolutely stellar card that is going to ruin people's day and just force combat that they don't want to be doing. They will be forced into attacking each other, trading off all of their creatures because they can't afford to take all this double strike damage. It's really, really strong. Again, I only have it at number 10 like as a, hey, I know and I admit that this specifically, Goad, not that strong. Still a great card.
It's like definitely just a battlecruiser meta type card. Reminds me a lot of Insurrection. It falls in the category of cards probably where if I know that critical mass combos or something that's going to be in my game, I'm just never playing this card. I'm never going to even sleeve it up to play, but it's super good in like the combat board state matters meta, so it brings it up to number 10. We'll compromise.
It's most, I would say it's good in most Commander games. Almost like a vast majority of non-CDH Commander games don't have combos in them. Now some of them, obviously there are a lot, and a lot of people who are watching this video are in those kind of metas because obviously the people watching content creation tend to have more
playing
combos.
Some juiced up stuff.
They're playing some more juiced up decks, but this card's still nonetheless very strong.
Number 9 is Blood Money. 5 black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. For each non-token creature destroyed this way, you create a tapped treasure token. This kind of falls into a similar category, I think, unless you're playing treasures. So most of the time, if you're going to play this as a board wipe, it's probably a little slow, but you get way more of your mana back after like the next turn you untap. Sometimes though you just kind of need like 4 mana board wipe right now and can't afford to spend 7 on it. Overall, pretty sweet card, especially in treasure decks.
Yeah, interesting enough about this card, the weakness of it is honestly the tapped treasures. I mean, if these come in untapped, we're talking about a spectacular card where you're the first to rebuild.
Like any power level.
Yeah, you're talking about like a very high power card. Like 7 mana is a lot though. Even to invest for it, and getting tapped treasures makes it a little slow. They could be blown up. That's not likely, but is a possibility.
There's a window.
Yeah, there's a window. Most treasures don't give that window. Nonetheless, this is still a great card because as soon as you do untap with those treasures, you're just bound to have an incredible and exciting turn that's going to pop off. You're going to have probably a good like 20 mana or so.
Amulet of Vigor, anyone?
If Amulet of Vigor does work with this, I don't know. Your deck would have to already want Amulet of Vigor because that's not a very good card in Commander.
It's not the best card in the world. I will say the first 5 on this list, we all know Baldur's Gate's not as format warping as like Commander Legends original, which is completely fine. So it's kind of like a big divide between the first 5 on here and then the top 5.
Yeah, there is quite a difference. Next is Bothersome Quizit. 2 red for a 3/2 with Menace. Goaded creatures your opponents control can't block. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, goad target creature and opponent controls. We're back to goad again. This time it's really simple to trigger. It's going to trigger just for playing the game. You're going to cast non-creature spells, and therefore you're just going to be goading. It lets you keep the biggest attackers off of you, lets you keep your life total high. Again, I think you can do this a lot. Like, it's going to be very simple to get goad just for playing the game, but we're just left with, is goad that good in higher powers? No, and that's why it's down here. Even though this card, I think, is just like a top-tier card for Battlecruiser metas.
I mean, also, you got the difference between Spectacular Showdown and this. This is a castable card early. You play it whenever you have the mana. It's not like it's never dead. You're always playing it as a thing. And then as creatures come around, you'll goad it. Oh, I have a kill spell, so I'll kill the second best thing and goad the best thing because I want it to attack. That sort of thing. It's not going to happen with Spectacular Showdown. I think this is way better in way more parts of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. This is definitely a better card than Spectacular Showdown, where Showdown is this big game-ending finisher that's going to like do a lot of crazy things. This is accumulated value over the game. You just play it, it sits on the battlefield, and it slowly gets you value. And you're going to get more value out of the side that says go to creatures can't block than you think. I think that's going to be very relevant, especially for players that want to block with their go to creatures. Like, if you go to someone's only creature, now it's got attack, and they can't block with it.
And also, if they're the person to your right, you're now shutting down 1 or 2. You play a mana rock and a card draw spell. You shut down their only 2 blockers. Everyone else just gets to attack them if they want to. Yeah. Then they have to attack.
Exactly. So this is definitely a solid card. What do we have next, BZ?
Well, you probably expected some of these to show up. Number 7 is Ancient Brass Dragon. 5 black for a 7/6 Elder Dragon with flying. And when it hits a player, you roll a d20. And when you do, put any number of target creature cards with total mana value, X or less, from graveyards onto the battlefield under your control, where X is the result. So we got a clunky 7 mana 7/6. But if you can ninjutsu it, give it haste, give it trample, connect with it at all, you just roll, and on average, you're getting back 10 mana worth of spells.
Yeah, the trouble with this card, the weakness is, obviously, you have to untap with this card. This isn't like this insane busted card, and there is the chance of low rolls. There is the 1 through 5s that aren't very good, right? But we're playing this for the high upside, and it definitely has that. When you roll something in the teens, it's going to feel like a very, very strong Magic card every single time.
Temur Battle Rage this. Then we'll talk.
Temur Battle Rage this. There's a lot of things you can do with this card. It's not busted. It's not broken. It's slow. It's clunky, but it'll get the job done. When it hits, also,
payoff's huge.
The payoff's huge. And on top of that, how fun is it? How fun is it? This isn't like you just get a certain thing when it hits. Like, you might get a ridiculous amount in a 20 or a 1 and get a mana dork.
Yeah, I think overall this is a pretty sweet one. Like we said, obviously you're going to see a big gap between number 5 and number 6. But I think Brass Dragon, totally solid. There's only 2 of these dragons on this list, and we'll talk about the thing I noticed between the 2 of them after you get to number 6.
Yeah, number 6 is Ancient Copper Dragon. 4 red for a flying Elder Dragon 6/5. Whenever it deals combat damage, roll a d20. You create a number of treasures equal to the result. This is the most aggressively costed of all of them, and it has one of the best effects of all of them. It hits and you just get treasures. The average is to get 10 or 11 treasures. Obviously, there are bad rolls. You will get 3 treasures sometimes, and you'll get 17, 18, 19, and 20 some of the times, and those numbers are ludicrous.
It really all balances out to expect about 10.
You should expect about 10 on the average. I mean, but obviously
for every one, you're expected a 20. On average, they'll all balance out, and the average is 10. These 2 dragons are the only ones on here, and I was like, wait a minute, these are the 2 that give you mana advantage. The rest give you other stuff.
Yeah, counters are kind of mana advantage, but not really.
Like, these are the most obvious mana advantage. Where cards, that's probably the worst one, honestly. And then if you're making fairy dragons, that's really only good with Scourge of Valkus, blow you up type of combos.
Agreed. Yeah. This cards are good. They're just slow. My only complaint about these 2 cards is not that there's downside, obviously, where you roll the dice and you can get bad things, but they're just so slow.
But this one was weird because it's a mana cheaper, so it's like definitely noticeably faster, and red is the haste color. So that's already like whatever the red dragon was, already had that going for it.
Yeah, you play this out, and you want to give it haste, obviously. It's very, very strong with haste.
So good.
But otherwise, it is a slow card, and that's the weakness of these dragons. I think all these dragons are powerful,
and
they have big and splashy effects that are worth getting that damage through. They just are slow, and that's the one thing keeping them from like dominating this list up at the top.
Is it one of the best cards in the set? Yeah, I think so.
It definitely is.
But is it worth $50? Not even close.
No.
Not even
close. If you open one in the pack, feel free to put it in a lot of decks.
Trade it for like 2 copies of every card that we're about to list.
Trade it for 2 copies of all of... How many of the battle lands that are getting reprinted in the set can you get for a dragon?
I don't even know where they ended up.
They're
price-wise.
They're pretty low right now.
Oh, boy.
Next, we have the big gap, the big jump, and it's all the way to Maxfield.com. Got them. Maxfield.com is a deck building website. You go there, you build whatever deck you want to build. Literally. I mean, think about it. You can build a modern deck, but you're probably building a commander deck seeing as you're here on the Nitpicking Nerds channel. Build all your commander decks, list them out, put them in folders, organize them, and then when you want to make a change, I was just doing this earlier today, I go to Joe's Decks because that's the folder with all of my decks in it, and I just go to my deck, I take the card I'm going to take out, I put that card in, and then I do it in paper, and now my deck list matches exactly what's on Maxfield.com.
It's been really tedious for me to do that before with the other guys, the other deck building sites, but it's actually pretty easy with Maxfield. You're in and out in like 10 seconds, and you make the change in real life, and you're good.
Yeah, as long as as soon as I know what I want to change, and I'm like, also, it's so much easier for me to go, I want to put X card in my deck. I need to take out a card. Holy crap, is looking at a deck list with the visual grid so much easier than laying out my whole entire deck with a curve and trying to figure it out. It has the curve right on the website.
Do that.
Give us the real number 5, BZ.
Yeah, there actually is a huge gap between 6 and 5, but Maxfield being in between is a pure coincidence. Number 5 is Ascend from Avernus. X, white for a sorcery. Return all creature and planeswalker cards with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then you exile this. So we got Rally the Ancestors, but it costs 1 mana more, and it's a sorcery. But they just stay. You just get to keep everything. It's like a souped-up Agadeem's Awakening, kind of, is the best way to compare this. But really, it's late game. Slam it for 5 or 6, get your entire graveyard back.
This card is really, really good. And I remember when Agadeem's Awakening came out, we said, we don't have the spell version of this. Where's the non-MDFC version? This is really it. And this is better than Agadeem's Awakening. This card is really, really strong.
Well, better than the spell half.
The spell half. I mean, it's not better than Agadeem's Awakening.
Like the card, yeah.
Overall. But yeah, the spell half of Agadeem's Awakening. This card is a finisher. It is what you put in your deck that your deck wants to grind, get to the late game. All right, we got there. Boom. Play this for X equals 6. All right, my board is filled. Tons of ETBs, tons of value. You're just going to be very happy with. I think this card is just going to win games so often.
This is going to be good for like Boros decks who just could never get this effect before. You just have some haste enable where there's plenty in Boros, and then you just go, here's everything. It's going to destroy you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the perfect way to put it. Black decks have this kind of effect. Lots of mass reanimation. White doesn't have that much mass reanimation. Lots for artifacts, lots for enchantments, but not for creatures. Now we have one for creatures. And if you're playing a Planeswalker deck, also an awesome card. Your Planeswalkers die. Planeswalker deck's weaknesses is their Planeswalkers die over the game and end up in their graveyard.
They're made to die.
Let's put them all back on the battlefield. And for less than that other card, you can actually...
9 mana.
The 9 mana one.
The Reckoning.
How many things cost 7 or more? It's not a lot, but you can also use it earlier.
You get your creatures.
And you get your creatures as well. So this card is just... 2 thumbs up. I really do like this card.
Yeah, better than Storm of Souls, which turns all your things into 1/1s. That's not really...
It's all right.
Not even close to this.
It's all right, but like...
What if you just have this?
Then you'd be happier.
Yes, absolutely. Number 4, what do we got?
Well, it's Delayed Blast Fireball. 1 red for an instant. Delayed Blast Fireball deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If the spell was cast from exile, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and each creature they control instead. Foretell... 4 red. Now, I think this card is just really powerful. It is 8 mana to get a board wipe, but it's a Plague Wind and it's split over 2 turns.
They also get 15 damage to their faces.
Yes, exactly. On top of that, the thing that just takes this card like to the next level is your Prosper deck. Is whoever the commander is for Exit for Exile, Faldorn, something like that. But there are a bunch of commanders that just let you play a card from exile. Lelia, like these decks.
Jessica's Will.
There's all these good cards that just play cards from exile. Take this card to the next level. When you can get a 3 mana, 5 damage to each player, 5 damage to other creatures, you're going to be extremely, extremely happy. This is going to be such a powerful card in all of those instances.
Unlike the other board wipes this is competing with, you get a bailout option where you can cast it for 3 and still wipe out all the small stuff they have without having to pay 8 mana to get the full crazy effect.
Yeah, it is super awesome to have that. Also, on top of all this card's an instant. So you could just do it on your opponent's turn, meaning that if you have the 8 mana, like do this in one turn, you play it and you pass. You foretell it, put it there, wait, and pass. And now it's an instant. So you're just waiting for the perfect opportunity. They waste their whole turns playing creatures. All of a sudden, you delay blast Fireball. It's going to feel amazing. Not that they're not going to see it coming, because I feel like if you
have to foretell something and then hold up 6 mana, if they don't know about it, like the first couple times, this is going to wreck them. How many instant speed board wipes are in red? This one?
Also, sometimes you can't afford to play around it. Maybe your board's not strong enough. You can't just say, I'm always going to play around it. It's like, sometimes you just can't afford to.
So you know what you got to do is get a second red foretell card, or a second foretell card. If you're like red blue, that'll be easy. Then they'll never know.
We'll do Demon Bolt.
Like then you get double value because you're like foretell something, pass with 6 mana up.
Do I have it? Do I not?
You don't know.
You don't know. What's next? What's number 3 on this list?
All right, here we go. These are you all know the top 3, but this is the order of them. Number 3 is Deep Gnome Terramancer. 1 and a white for a 2/2 with flash. It has Mold Earth. Whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a Plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Do it only once each turn. This isn't second landfall for the opponents. It's whenever they put a land out, if they didn't literally play it from their hand, so like Rampant Growth, a fetch land, some kind of Ghost Quarter effect, all that stuff, you just get to go ramp. And it doesn't care about whether you have less than them or anything.
Yes, it's nice to have the non-catch-up ramp. We're still reliant on our opponents to do something, but in higher power level games,
they're going to do it.
They're going to do it. We're just going to see this all the time.
And it's got flash, so you get a freebie. It's like guaranteed.
Every single deck is playing fetch lands as you get into higher power. Like, obviously, like, not literally every deck, but you're going to see a lot of fetch lands as you get to higher power. They're amazing.
It's not even necessarily higher power. It's like higher money, just because we don't even play crazy high power decks. We still play fetch lands.
That's true, yeah. So as you get to higher money decks, you're just going to see a lot of fetch lands. And obviously, this is great against fetch lands as they don't play those. They are fetching them up. All of the green ramp that is putting lands into play is triggering this card. It is very, very good. It's going to ramp us, and it doesn't get basics. This gets
Shocklands, Triomes.
Shocklands, Triomes, get whatever you need. Fix yourself. I mean, this card is it's so obviously good. I don't need to tell you that it's good.
It's just amazing. It's just clearly amazing. It might be the best white ramp spell, so keep an eye out.
Also, on top of all of that, it has flash. So players can't even necessarily play around it. They can go, put my fetch land, fetch, you go, boop, it's out.
How do you feel about 1 and a white 2/2s with flash?
1 and a white 2/2s with flash. They're really good in this set.
Name a better one.
Well, I can. It's actually number 2. It's Archivist of Ogama. 1 and a white for a 2/2 flash. Who would have thought? Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card.
Oh, look. It's one of the best white card draw spells in Commander.
Weirdly enough, how about now we have 1 and a white 2/2 with flash that cares about fetch lands.
Oh, they both blow out fetches, and this one doesn't say once per turn. Most of the time, you're just not going to not search your library. What are you searching for? Are you going to not play Cultivate because this thing's on the battlefield? No.
Are you going to not play your Demonic Tutors?
No.
Are you going to not play all these things? So something separating this from a card like Opposition Agent. Opposition Agent, great card. Not taking anything away from it. But no one's ever going to cast their Vamp Tutor or their Demonic Tutor or play a fetch land into Opposition Agent. It needs to die before they can do that because they're just going to lose it and they're going to give you a card. The Archivist of Ogama is just going to not do that. They're going to play stuff into it. They're going to be like, all I have to do is fetch. All I have to do is play a Demonic Tutor. They're going to play into it, and you're just going to draw cards. They're not going to play around this card as often as you're going to see with something like Opposition Agent.
Oh, yeah, and the fact that there's a sort of a choice where Opposition is you just can't do this. This is you can, but I get something. Opens the door for mistakes. It's not like giving your opponent a choice. It's not like those subsection of like kind of bad Magic cards. This is just amazing. Mono white passes with 2 mana up. You got to watch what you do, I guess.
You don't have to watch what you do. You're just not going to play around these cards ever. If mono white passes with 2 mana up, you're going to play your ramp spell.
You can't play around. Like, there's no play. I'm just not going to fetch. I'm just not going to ramp. Okay.
Exactly.
Someone else is.
These 2 cards cannot be played around efficiently. It's not like you want to play around opposition agent because it's like, well, they're going to steal my card. Like, you can sometimes play around that. You can never play around archivist. Like, I can't do that. It's like, I'm not going to not play my best card in my hand because they might have an archivist.
Yeah, how many cards in a given deck search the library? Like 10? 6 at least?
In the really strong decks? I mean, I'm really strong decks.
Even in a non-green deck, you're still fetching, and you even have budget fetches and all this different stuff.
Yeah,
searching
exactly.
for instance.
All right. Well, number 1 is real good.
Kind of just broken, right?
It is certainly broken in some ways, yes.
It's the only kitten in Black Border Magic. Displacer Kitten, 3 and a blue for a 2/2 cat beast. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. This looks sort of innocuous, like we've seen all of these words in different orders before, but there's no restriction to this, and it's busted, turns out.
Yeah, it turns out this needs to be one of those overcosted bodies. It's a 4 mana thing. It just combos with the absolute hammiest of ham sandwiches. It's so easy to just go off. It and by itself, what's it called?
Spellseeker?
Spellseeker is a combo. I don't know the exact combo. Look it up.
You basically go get a ritual and a ritual and a ritual, and then you tutor for draw half your deck and you just win.
It's silly, and that is really silly that's even a thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, CDH is like salivating over this, rightfully so. It is super good, and don't let the CDH combos fool you. Like, yeah, you're probably not going to see that exact thing. You are going to see infinite different types of loops with this. You have to kill it every single time, or you're probably just going to lose. It is. Someone said it was a Paradox Engine Light. Seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so strong. It also by itself, when you have something like a Gilded Lotus, a Chromatic Orrery, one of these big giant mana rocks, is now ritualing whatever you play.
Yeah, it flickers non-land permanents.
Yes, so just flicker your Orrery, okay? 5 mana, play my 2 mana spell, flicker my Orrery, get 5 more mana. Like, that's already just an incredibly strong thing to be doing. And on top of that we're obviously very good for all of our Flicker decks. Turning all of our non-creature spells, which we're going to have some of, obviously, into more Flicker is just powerful.
And maybe the worst part is good luck ever killing this. If you want to try to destroy it, they can play Opt or whatever and just Flicker it in response. So I don't know what you're supposed to do against this.
Yeah, exactly. It's never dying except the board wipes.
You have to just kill the player, I guess.
All right, so I want to say that this whole set, the D&D, a little weak for Commander, but I'm willing to accept that it's weak for Commander because we got an awesome Commander draft set. It's like 10 out of 10 for draft.
I think we're, 6 drafts in now?
Yeah, and every single one has just been a home run. So much fun every single time. And also, I'll even give it more leeway because the Commander decks were about a 9 out of 10. These are the best Commander decks we've seen almost ever.
Power-wise, sure. I mean, money-wise, who knows? But power-wise, for sure. Some people were getting them for cheaper than $60. I will also say,
you can get them on. I saw them. I think you can get them for about $47 each if you use our TCG Player affiliate link.
Well, but I also will say, we 100% called the fact that this format is faster and the cards are stronger on average than Commander Legends.
So nice.
And games can actually end.
Yes, and if you want to go check out our review of the limited set, you can just go check that out. We did the commons and uncommons. And I know the rares and mythics sound flash here, but it's way more important if you're going to play limited to know about the commons and uncommons.
Get yourself up to speed.
Yes. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.